Hey guys, I just watched Spider-Man Far From Home. It's the next movie after Avengers Endgame, and I'm here to talk about my thoughts on the movie. Now, personally, I kind of thought this movie was a little bit early, too fast. I wanted a little bit more space between um, Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home, but I realized Spider-Man Homecoming probably came out in like 2016 or 17, so maybe it just feels like because we have so many Spider-Man movies, and this is the, I believe, third Spider-Man, second sequel, so a second Spider-Man movie. I know that's really weird, but yeah, I just wanted to talk about my thoughts. First, the positives. I think, of course, the performances are all great. Jake Gyllenhaal um, did not let me down because he's a great actor. He's a legendary actor. Uh, Tom Holland also does his role well as Spider-Man and Peter Parker. Um, I was kind of worried in the middle of some of his emotional scenes that he wasn't able to convey these complex emotions, but I think he did a good job, and the chemistry between him and Jake Gyllenhaal was quite well executed, I would say. Uh, Next, I thought MJ, Zendaya, had a much more bigger role in this movie, and on the contrary, Ned had less of an important role for the story and more of a comedic role. And I think I'm okay with that because I do think while his best friend is also important, I do believe formulating a love interest for Peter Parker would open more sequel something storylines in the future. The positives, I thought the idea of putting the setting to Europe, which was never done in a Spider-Man movie, was a genius idea, and you can kind of see uh, how the difference of setting kind of makes Spider-Man different. What kind of move sets he needs now that he doesn't have the advantage of these big tall buildings of New York and the streets of New York. So that was kind of interesting to see. Next, I want to talk about the action because I do believe there are both negatives and positives to the action. The positives are you get to see more ingenious swinging around, and you get to see Peter, uh, Spider-Man, interact with the environment in very creative ways in order for him to control the environment. Uh, so you'd see very creative uses of the web slingers in order to basically make the chessboard in his favor. How there is a sequence nearing in the middle and the end, which I thought was really awesome as an action and visual standpoint. However, as the movie progresses towards the end, I thought the action was getting a little bit too flashy and a little bit too fast for normal audiences to catch. Sometimes I didn't know where Spider-Man was or what he was doing in the air, and I could tell he was doing some cool shit. Yeah, he's definitely doing some cool shit. You can actually see what he's doing, and um, yeah, however, sometimes it's a little bit too fast-paced for the audience to follow, and I don't think it was creative enough to make me go like, holy shit, the action's pretty good in this movie. I think it's just about the same as Spider-Man Homecoming and how they did the action. But I do think there are some moments that Spider-Man fans are gonna love in this movie, especially if they play the PS4 game, where you can actually have an Arkham type action sequence in those games. You can kind of see Peter go through some similar movesets in this movie, and it was pretty awesome to see Spider-Man whizzing in and out, dodging stuff and punching stuff. It was pretty cool. Uh, Also, there are some moments where he uses his mind, his wit, in order to fight, and that was pretty cool as well. Some negatives about the movie. I believe the villain in this movie was a little bit too, I wouldn't say similar to the to Spider-Man Homecoming's Vulture, but I think um, it comes from the same mold, I would say. And it was kind of getting a little stale as we find out about the villain in this movie. And I'm trying to keep this as vague as possible because there are a lot of villain figurines in this movie. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say. Um, Maybe if I do a spoiler full review, I might be able to talk about the villain and why I didn't like it. But basically, I kind of want people to go into this movie fresh without seeing any trailers as well. Because I do believe if you want the full experience, you need to have zero contact with the promoting material. Yeah. Other stuff, there is an actual void now that the former Avengers are now pretty much retired. Um, the empty space that they leave is very hard to fill, and that's kind of also an aspect of this movie that is touched upon. And emotionally, I thought the movie took the best steps it could. So I'm very happy with how they emotionally took Peter Parker uh, coping with the end of Endgame. Also, there are many comedic moments, Marvel comedic moments in this movie, which I thought was done pretty well. It's actually quite cute. The movie is quite cute because it's kind of goes into like a high schoolish movie. Uh, and it kind of goes back to action. It kind of goes to these high school cute moments, and it's quite, I would say, well paced. You won't feel like you're bored in this movie. Maybe in the first half you might be bored because you want to see some Spider-Man action, but I believe that was the best way to go about the story and keep the audience invested. And the average viewer will go into this movie and say, "Oh, that was a fun ride." I don't know if anyone's gonna say the movie was incredible. It was masterful, however, because of some of the problems I did mention. Also, there are two post-credit scenes that you must watch. Some are saying that those two post-credit scenes are worth more than the movie itself. They There are some surprising fan service, and there is a big revelation in each of these post-credit scenes. So I totally hope you stay around for the end credit scenes. Yeah, so that was my thoughts on Spider-Man Far From Home. I wouldn't say it's where would I rank this movie? I think it's about the same as Homecoming. Maybe I have to see Far From Home again. I do believe I've seen Homecoming twice in theaters. I've only seen Far From Home once, so I'll have to see it again, maybe when it's out on Netflix or something, uh, or Disney Plus, to kind of formulate my opinions and form a ranking. But basically, that's my initial out of the movie theater thoughts about Spider-Man Far From Home. I do believe fans are going to enjoy this film. Yeah, they're gonna have a blast with it.